Hi, thank you for tuning in to our podcast, coming to you from Holyoke. So I'm Carrie, and I'm here with Robert, who does the historic tours of Greater Holyoke, where he offers both public and private tours of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, Chicopee, and South Hadley, Mass. You can check out his website for more information at holyokecanaltours.org. There he has videos and photos of his past and present tours, as well as his 2023 schedule. So today we're going to be discussing the Maple Grove Cemetery in Holyoke. So can you give us a brief history of the Maple Grove Cemetery?
Yes, this cemetery is in Chicopee, Massachusetts. It's a Protestant cemetery. It also happens to be where the Potter's Field would be for all Chicopee residents. Potter's Field means that the poor are buried here, the ones that cannot afford to bury themselves. So it was started, the cemetery in 1831 has Cabottville Cemetery, but it was renamed along the way in the 1860s into Maple Grove. Why? Because when we go there, you'll see maple trees lining the entrance road going in. A lot of these maples are starting to die out because they're about 120 years old or so. And if you see them, you can bet that in 10 years, most of them will be gone. But this cemetery is not the oldest in Chicopee, but it has a lot of character, probably the most character of all the cemeteries in Chicopee. It's a well-shaded cemetery, and it has a lot of veterans of basically every war that was fought by the United States. And it also has some of the mill owners, so when you go in there, you'll see some very famous names to Chicopee itself. Now, it's not particularly an active cemetery. People that still have plots from the past still use it, but they don't sell off new lots. Where it looks like it's empty is probably you're looking at the part that is the Potter's Field. So, what I want you to think or know about the cemetery, we'll go through a lot of questions here, but I want you to develop your own opinion because when people go there, they say, wow, this is a very unique looking cemetery. And one thing they really don't like about it, I like most of it, one thing I don't like, is that most of the plots are on raised soil. Now, when you do that, it sounds good because it puts the stones up higher. But when you do that, the water flows off the raised surface downwards. Whenever water flows and there's rocks around, stones around, it'll push them. If there's gravestones around, it'll push the top of the part that's in the ground harder than the part that's deeper in the ground. And so gradually all the stones start to tilt. And so you go to the cemetery and there's so many tilted stones because of that reason. I don't know why they raised the ground so much, but they did it on at least 30 different family sections, and most of what you're looking at in Maple Grove is a family section.
Now, so tell us the story behind the Leroy gravestone.
Yes, this is the most unique gravesite I've seen in a long time. And when you go there, there's a very, very close um, iron fence around one plot only. And if you look at the stone, you can see in 4 different places the name Leroy. Now I don't know if that's the first name or the last name. I've looked for hours and hours through all the burial records of Chicopee and Springfield, trying to figure out who this is. I think he was a youngster. I can read the dates, and it seems like it's saying he's 11 years old, but it's very worn out. But what's with this iron gate, iron fence around here? A very big iron fence that's about 2.5 feet high. What does that do? And it's so close to the burial of his body. That's very unique. Well, what this is incredible. They only did this to stop grave robbers from stealing the bodies that were buried in that section. They used to do this in the big cities because the big cities would have medical schools, and grave robbers in the 1800s would try to steal the bodies and sell them to the doctors in the medical school. By the end, grave robbers did a great thing for society because it was illegal to dissect bodies. And there was no way of getting knowledge. And knowledge in the 1800s was very important because they were just coming through with all the systems in the body. They learn about everything, and they wanted to learn more. Medical schools were developing greatly. There was more and more doctors because there was more and more knowledge, and they needed bodies. But people didn't want their deceased one to be the one that got robbed. And so they put these metal gates around here, trying to discourage people from stealing bodies. This one probably worked. It wasn't too close to any medical centers. Western Massachusetts doesn't have any medical centers. Hartford has, of course, medical center. Albany does. Providence and Boston have medical centers. And so that's where a lot of bodies would have been stolen. But Chicopee didn't have to worry about that. So what I believe you're looking at is an 11-year-old boy that probably died in the 1860s. And he got fenced in because his parents were worried about grave robbers.
So, not only that, tell us about who John Chase is and what he did for Chicopee and Holyoke.
John Chase designed and constructed the Chicopee Canal. The Chicopee Center Canal started from 1832 onwards. What did he do for Holyoke? He also constructed the Holyoke Canal system, which is vast. So the Holyoke Canal and the Chicopee Center Canal have the sand contractor doing the work. And one great similarity is the workers' homes that he made are very similar in Chicopee and in Holyoke. If you go see both of them, they look the same. The ones in Chicopee are 3 floors high. The ones in Holyoke are 2 floors high. Otherwise, they look exactly the same. So you know that they have a similar design behind them. John Chase is buried in this Maple Grove Cemetery. His stone has fallen over. I was able about 10 years ago to lift it up and lean it against another stone in the family plot of the Chase family. And since then, it's got a lot of lichen and mold on it. I wish someone would really go in there and fix it up. He had a sidekick that was called Charles McClellan, and Charles McClellan was his builder. So John Chase was like the manager, and McClellan was the nuts and bolts guy going in there making the walls for the canals, making the homes for the workers, and together they made 2 incredibly important systems in Western Massachusetts.
Okay, now tell us about the Pottersfield section of the cemetery.
Okay, this is sad. If you go to the very northern part, there's a section where it mostly looks like it's just grass. There's a few scattered old stones on the edge of it, but it looks like empty grass. It goes a little bit downhill. Now, what is this? This is the Pottersfield for all of Chicopee. In the Chicopee burial records, they have all the cemeteries listed out for the deceased from 1849 onwards. And they have all the cemeteries that are known inside Chicopee. But they added one. It's called Chicopee Cemetery. Chicopee Cemetery. What is that? That's the Pottersfield inside the Maple Grove Cemetery. And I've told people there's probably 2,000 bodies in there, all buried as paupers in this area. The burial was paid for by the city of Chicopee. That means the grave was dug, the land was donated, the coffin was built, all under the money of the city of Chicopee. Now, if you look at it, you will say to yourself, wow, that section there does not have 2,000 bodies. Well, most of the bodies are little babies because 150 years ago, up to 100 years ago, there were so many diseases in these mill towns of Massachusetts. People were living too close together. So diphtheria, cholera, measles, mumps, flu, all came around and killed many people because they were living in these tenement houses. Sad to say, the babies took it on the nose. If you got past the age of about 4 years old, you're probably going to live to about 70 years old. But a lot of deaths, and I mean by a lot of deaths, if you look at a sheet of the burials of Chicopee or of Holyoke, you'll see in the 1880s, 1890, 1900, you'll see maybe 4 out of 10 of the burials are of children below the age of 4 years old. So it's very hard, it's very sad to see. And so this Potter's Field back here, this Potter's Field back here is filled with little children.
Now, will the Mary Bates gravestone disappear?
Yeah, the Mary Bates stone looks like it's being swallowed up by one of the maple trees. And what will happen is trees go out and trees grow at the very tip upwards, but they don't grow out and upwards from the base or any middle section of the tree. So yes, someday that gravestone, if that maple tree stays alive for another 50 years, will swallow up the gravestone, but it'll be inside the tree. If someone, a lumberjack, comes down and cuts it down, then they'll be shocked because there'll be a stone inside of it. But my theory is the tree will die first. If you look at that tree, it's in rough shape. But the Mary Bates stone is about 30% inside of a maple tree at this point. Thank you for coming on the store.
Thanks for listening to that. And again, you can check out more information on his tours and videos and photos as well as other podcasts at his website, hoyokecanaltours.org. And you can also email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at gmail.com.